Now that the dust has settled a little bit and everybody's had the opportunity to go over their individual teams' conference slate, we'll dive a little further in and go over the five easiest, at least in my personal opinion, and from Heartland Sports article. Then we have to go over the remainder of the recruiting class because the second iteration National Signing Day is in fact over with. We ended up with 33, including some extra hidden gems here at the end. So, two shows, faux show, let's go.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things cowboy and cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stoll. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms as well as YouTube. You can find me on Twitter at OState. Okay, I promise I'm not trying to sound like an auctioneer. I'm just trying to get into the nitty and gritty of this. One thing I did want to cover before we dove into the schedule was a lot of people are talking about being concerned with not very many trips into the state of Texas this year. Everybody knows that Texas, traditionally speaking, is a very big hotbed for us when it comes to recruiting. Now, this class, we got 7 dudes from Oklahoma, 10 dudes from Texas, and like 17 dudes from other states, including the punter from down under, Australia. So don't stress too much because although Texas recruiting is massively beneficial for us, it's not the end all be all. For starters. And then secondarily, we're only going to be outside of Texas for the most part for a year. We still have the trip to Houston, which is going to obviously, have a lot of people excited. I know I have that one circled. And realistically speaking, guys, if you look at the schedules, especially at the back half, we need, or at least it would be beneficial if Houston and BYU were in the running, or at least having a very good account of themselves as we get towards the latter half of the season. So even though it's only one trip to Texas, it's a big one, and it's a game that hopefully has a decent amount on the line. Nonetheless, I know we're all going to be excited for the fireworks that could potentially be set off in that. So now let's go over the worst 5. So if you look at Heartland Sports, they put out an article, pretty good one, on the 5 easiest schedules in the Big 12. So we'll get right into it. Baylor is who they have at number 5. I think I would probably definitely agree there. The toughest road games they have, according to Heartland, are at UCF, at K-State, at TCU. Toughest home games, Utah, Texas, Texas Tech. I don't necessarily anything crazy there. Now, Heartland Sports has Cincinnati at number 4. I personally would probably have them either 2 or 3. You can kind of make some things interchangeable there. But toughest road games at Pitt, at BYU, at Oklahoma State, in Stillwater, where they get to come for homecoming. The toughest home games appear to be Oklahoma, Baylor, UCF. Again, I don't have a lot of arguments there, except for I do think it shakes out to be a little bit of an easier schedule, in my personal opinion, than K-State. K-State's close. I get it. But let's look. Okay, so K-State. Toughest road games at Mizzou, at Texas Tech, at Texas. Toughest home games, UCF, TCU, Baylor. Not a lot of argument there. And then OU. They have OU as the second easiest schedule. Again, I think maybe I disagree a little bit because OU, the front half of their schedule, very simple. They should be around the 7-1 range. Realistically speaking, we could be in that area, right? 6-2, maybe even 7-1. Right? You never know. But when you get to that area of the season, the latter half, I feel like ours doesn't necessarily get any different than most of the front half, as opposed to OU. They end the season, in my opinion, a little bit of not quite a murderer's row, but they have a tough stretch there at the very end that they have to contend with, including the trip to Stillwater. And then clearly we are the easiest schedule. So this is a massive agreement from most everything I can find. And so Heartland has toughest road games at Arizona State, at UCF, at Houston. Toughest home games, toughest home games. Kansas State, OU, BYU. I think you could probably throw KU in there. Now, when you look at the ease of this schedule, the crux of it is the bye week is horrendous. The time that our bye week gets set up sucks, right? And we had this issue last year. Whenever you have your bye week so early on, it's not advantageous really whatsoever, other than getting prepared for the next game. Because when you're this early on in the season, you're not really going to have injuries that are week to week quite yet for the most part, right? So you don't have a bunch of guys that are needing to be healed up, which is the ideal time for the bye week. Now, the upside of the bye week is we get it at the exact same time as Kansas State. And then the very next game out of the bye week is K-State. Last time we both had a bye week to prepare for each other. Let's just say we didn't show up. We got out coached. We got out manhandled. We got out physical. We got outplayed. We got out everything. But now we may have the opportunity to return the favor, because last year we had to go 2 to Manhattan, got drugged through the mud. Then we went to Lawrence, wasn't much better. Now they both get to come to Stillwater, Oklahoma back to back. We got to split those. Right now, you'd have to favor K-State. I think the argument can be made that you'd be favoring KU as well. It's very, very possible. But we've got to split those. Now, if you win both of them, then now you're officially cooking in hot oil, because, again, the back half of the schedule is not that terrible. You don't have that dreaded night late game, especially in Ames, Iowa. Going to Provo, Utah at night in November is probably not the easiest thing in the world. So it's really cool that they get to come to us to end the season. And I do think BYU, out of the 4 new teams, could be the most instantaneously ready to compete. So just like we end the season at UCF, at Houston, BYU at home. So if Houston and BYU are in the contention, then it does nothing but help our value. Now, this is all assuming that we're in contention as well. And I understand people's pause or cause for concern. I really do. But before we finish off here and jump into the 2023 recruiting class, I do have to let the fine folks out here know about FanDuel. This year, the only app you're going to need for any Super Bowl party is FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. We are very, very excited with our new sports betting partner. Now, for Locked On, there's numerous reasons why this is a big deal. But basically, what it boils down to is FanDuel. Whether you're new or not, it's even going to get better. And there are more great features that are going to be continuously coming available to make sports betting fun and easy. Download FanDuel now so you can bet on Super Bowl 57 with the no sweat first bet. You'll get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from the money line to the point spread or who's even going to score the next touchdown. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Best of all, you can get paid on your winnings instantly. Join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/lockedon to claim your no sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. Again, that is FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment matter more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, so yeah, I think the schedule we've already gone over. If there is a reason to be excited, if you weren't excited already, this schedule gives you that reason to be excited. I think that anybody in the Big 12 with our schedule should be able to win a minimum 7 games, likely 9 games if you're worth a decent amount of salt. So 9+ is not out of the realm of not possibility. It needs to be the expectation. It should be the expectation. Yeah, I don't want to dive too far into that because we've covered that multiple times before. So I'm sure y'all don't want to hear me go too far into that. So we'll just jump real quick onto the recruits. Now, naturally, we'll kind of go over the players that we've covered before in previous videos, as well as some of the new ones that I think are definitely going to make a difference. Okay, so the first one that I think you could potentially go over would be Tyreek Andrews, 6'1", 190-pound wide receiver from Enid, Oklahoma. We're not going to dive into him because we're going to have Rashawn Woods on the show Saturday. So we're going to let Rashawn Woods himself his coach at Enid High tell us what we are expecting to see in Tyke Andrews, right? What makes him different than a lot of the other players that we could have gone out and got. And then you got Alan Bowman. We've discussed him before. We know what he's done at Texas Tech. It would be nice to see him do it in an Oklahoma State jersey instead of the Texas Tech jersey against Oklahoma State. But yeah, we're not going to be able to get that retribution moment where he gets to gunsling Reckham Tech, but all right. And then injuries are an issue with this guy. But at 6'4", 210 pounds, he's been through multiple systems. He knows exactly what he's doing. Multiple big-time systems at big-time programs. And then you look on Arlen Bruce. Arlen Bruce, the fourth wide receiver transfer out of Iowa from Olathe, Kansas, is going to be good for his family because they're going to be one hip, skip, hop, and a jump away from the games. We have already talked about Elijah Collins, the transfer from Michigan State, Detroit area. He already just almost hit the 1,000-yard mark at Michigan State. So if he can almost run for 1,000 yards at Michigan State, he should be able to get fairly close to replicating the same thing in Stillwater. And then you look at having the capability to have extra people blocking him, like a Dalton Cooper, 6'7", 310-pound offensive lineman. This is the guy that transferred from Texas State that had like 1,328 snaps, only giving up 7 sacks. Production is production. In Edenfield, we're going to pause there real quick because the last time, I dove into this, I did think that maybe he would need a few years to develop. The more I dive in, it might not take him all that long. He's got the nasty streak that we've already talked about, so we won't beat dead horses here. But he's a little bit better than maybe I thought initially as well. Another one that we need to jump into, Jack and Dean. Jack and Dean, he might be a project. He might be a project. Just like, Ian Edenfield, I thought was a project. I think Ian Edenfield's coming in to compete immediately. I don't know why you would come in at 6'5", 260 to play the tight end / cowboy back position and be willing to kind of sit idly. So again, I think that's maybe Ian Edenfield, somebody I didn't quite dive into far enough. But Jack and Dean, again, my perception on him's changed a little bit, but I've got previous videos there. Ike Essenmoon, we talk about him. First thing that jumps off of film with him is his ability at wide receiver, or at least that's what I saw. So from an athletic perspective, not going to have any issues. At 6'2", darn near 220 pounds, with the ability to run a 4.5 40, is only going to get better for this kid, if not even going to improve from the muscular and speed. I think both of those are things that Body by Glass can make better. Zane Flores, 6'3", 200 pounds. So we're not going to need a bunch of Body by Glass, but we do know that Body by Glass is massively beneficial. So Zane Flores is going to, again, be able to benefit from that. And then be able to sit behind Alan Bowman and somebody like a Garrett Rangel and even take some notes here and there from a Gunnar Gundy. This is a really good time for him to be coming in. Jadon Foreman, 6'5", 260-pound from Dale City, Oklahoma. Again, part of the 7 Oklahoma guys that we were able to bring in. He's a big get. Reminds me a lot of Deshaun Brown from this last year's class that we were able to kind of get from Choctaw. Very similar film to me. Then you jump to Cam Franklin. We've talked about him quite a bit at 6'2", 190 pounds. It's another one of these safeties, defensive backs, cornerbacks that we're bringing in that's over 6'1". Over 6 foot tall, over 6'2". And then you've got obviously Kendall Daniels, 6'5", already en route. You've got 6'3" Cam Smith. So the big cornerback, the big defensive back that has the ability to lower his shoulder, blitz when need be, take down a running back in the backfield, string plays out, and also diagnose things from a passing standpoint. He should be able to slide in fairly quickly. We have already done a video and talked about Anthony Goodlow, so we're not going to get too wrapped up. But it's another guy from Dale City, Oklahoma, Tulsa transfer, 6'5", almost 290 pounds, should be able to slide in fairly quickly and fill that Tyler Lacey type of void. Kenneth Harris, cornerback, 6'1", 195 pounds. He's somebody that's coming in. If you look at his film from Arkansas State, he makes a lot of plays. The epitome of a ball hawk, I guess you could say, right? He's all over the field. And he has the ability to read and react pretty well. And his hips are pretty daggone smooth. So he could, again, be somebody that we see rotating in a lot. If not, maybe securing a starting spot. It is possible. Cameron Hurd, wide receiver, 6 foot, 160 pounds. If we all know that losing Stephon Johnson senior or junior is going to hurt a little bit, right? There's no question about it. Cameron Hurd should be able to fill that gap a little bit better. And ironically enough, he's from Houston, Texas. Then you move on. Let's stay with wide receiver again. We've already talked about Leon Johnson III. You cannot coach 6'5", 210 pounds from George Fox University up in the Oregon area. Yeah, thank goodness we had a San Diego Chargers scout come in and say, hey, man, we would love to have you back here, but you're just too daggone good. You probably should go explore somewhere because you're a Division I caliber dude. We got him, and I think he's somebody that we're going to be able to throw in very, very quickly, and he's going to be able to, provide instantaneous abilities. We covered it a little bit earlier, the punter from down under who wants to get physical, who wants to lay dudes out, have a little bit of that Pat McAfee in him. With this size and the athletic capability he has coming from playing all of the years of rugby, he likes the physical side of the game. So he's going to be an athlete on top of extending that Tom Hutton tree, right? Getting out of Pro Kick Australia. Isaiah Kima, got a video on him. He's the guy that's going to be going to do a little bit of a mission, right? So he's going to be gone for a couple years, but he's already 6'4", 300 pounds. And you do know that when he goes and does this mission, the couple years that he's going to be gone, he is going to be focusing on his body, right? It's not like he's going to let himself completely go, knowing he's got an obligation to uphold as soon as he gets back to Stillwater, Oklahoma. Should be an instantaneous contributor when he gets back. Justin Kirkland. I think I may have slept on him originally as well. 6'4", 330 pounds. Again, you cannot teach size. Utah Tech. Diving into film is not the easiest thing to do on some of these guys. Justin Kirkland is another one of those. But when you do a little bit more research and just put it into context, at 6'4", 330, he expects to come in and play. He wouldn't be coming here to be a third-string dude. People don't go to their last, not their last stop. I guess he could technically transfer again, but people don't come to not be thrown into the mix of it. So even though I see Justin Kirkland still as being a little bit more of a developmental guy, he could surprise some people because he's got the size to be able to do that. RJ Lester, sneaky athlete, covered him as well, 6'1", 180 pounds, Fort Smith, Arkansas. It's good, again, to extend that recruiting footprint because the footprint has gotten nothing but it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And he adds to that. So he's a big get. Ricky Lolahay, very undersized, and they use him all over the field. He's somebody who projects, I think, obviously, as a defensive lineman. Where on the defensive line, I think that's yet to be determined. He very easily could slide outside even with that size and continue to be productive, or he could add a little bit more mass and be more projected, more of that Collins Clay style inside. Okay, here's one of the ones that was a very big get when you pop on film. Probably going to mess the name up, so I apologize if I do, but Jamison Mahea out of Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, 6'6", 285 pounds. And again, the film, he was dead set, ready to go to Virginia, right? He really wanted to be a Cavalier, loved his trip up there. He was always kind of hoping that Oklahoma State would be that somebody that was seriously in the fold. But we kept talking about a scholarship offer, just never gave it, talked about it, never gave it, talked about it, never gave it. And then we realized, okay, he is somebody that we definitely need to get in here. We cannot afford to lose him to Virginia. Thankfully, we got to re-recruit him, and he did, in fact, come back. Just like whenever you kind of think about a Jack and Dean. Very physical, very mean, very nasty. That nasty pancake streak that you want. He has it. Noah McKinney, the transfer from UNLV. Another one that's 6'5", 300 pounds. Should be able to slide in immediately. And not only add depth, but compete for playing time. I'm in Oates, the defensive tackle we covered very early on. 6'3", 300 pounds. He was one of the earlier transfers. And he's another one that I'm very excited about. He absolutely demolishes people. When you throw on the film, that's what you want to see when you have somebody playing at that level. It's exactly what he does. Jacoby Standers from Stillwater, Oklahoma. He got to be under center and on the line for Gunnar Gundy. Got to be under center and on the line for Gage Gundy. Now he's going to get to do the same thing again with Gunnar Gundy. in college. So this is going to be a really good opportunity for him. Another guy athletically may need a little bit of work, but he's insanely strong. He's already benching 455, and he's only going to get better when he gets into the body by glass system. Dylan Smith, 5'11", 170-pound defensive back. Arguably the smallest one we've got in recent memory, but he doesn't play small. He doesn't play small at all. And I think his brother would probably agree with that. Gage Stanilam, offensive lineman, 6'5", 290 pounds. He's another one that just has that nasty mean streak. Is he going to take a little bit of work? Absolutely. But are we okay with his development? Because, again, he has some of the things you can't teach for sure. We've already talked about Staun's dribbling, 6'3", 205-pound right there. I can't speak English. 6'3", 205-pound wide receiver. Transfer from Washington State. Big body, runs Justin Blackman-style routes. Payoso Utu, linebacker, 6'1", 205 pounds. He is somebody that's very undervalued, and it's because in high school they had him playing defensive end mostly exclusively. They had him doing some stand-up stuff, obviously, here and there as well. But they're not even getting the utilization out of him that we can foresee. I think his stats would have been absolutely insane if he'd played the linebacker throughout the entirety of his high school career. But nonetheless, it's good for us, right? It's another one of these steals, right? One of these 3-star style steals that we get that we're able to produce off of. Did a recent video about Sessi of LA, running back, 6 foot, 200 pounds, out of Salt Lake City, Utah, played for the same high school coach as Jalen Warren, has some familiarity there. Obviously runs like him, looks like him, same type of body style, similar running style, very good vision, very good elusiveness, very, very explosive, more explosive than Jalen Warren was coming out of high school. So, again, the running back room is going to be absolutely crazy. I don't need to go on and on about Ladarius Webb Jr. anymore. You guys have already heard that. He's a hybrid guy, just like Jabbar Muhammad, just like even a Cam Smith could potentially be. Dad has the NFL pedigree. His dad's got Super Bowl rings. He's had the training, the top-notch training that, most of us could only dream of having. He's going to slide in and be instantaneously ready. Tywan Ray, another safety, 6'3", 185 pounds. Again, out of Georgia. This is part of that footprint. And he's the guy that Gundy was talking about that in a normal cycle, right, without all of the transfer market stuff, he's easily a 3-star, possibly even a 4-star type of guy. But because the numbers on recruiting are down in the high school ranks, it's just the process of elimination. Some of these guys are going to end up getting squeezed out. 4-star capable dudes are going to be getting squeezed out because teams are going after so many transfers. It's just the nature of the beast now. And then, of course, a guy we've had on the show as a guest, Justin Wright, 6'2", 253-pound linebacker, transfer from Tulsa. The Dan Campbell chew your kneecaps off. He is that guy. And he's going to provide instantaneous ability. I know we were concerned about Mason Cobb's departure. Justin Wright fills in for that very, very well. And then, I think we've cruised through this stuff pretty decent. Okay. Yeah, we're making pretty decent time here. And just enough time to get ready to wrap everything up here. But before we do, you guys already know, I got to talk to you real quick about Built Bar. Built Bar has been basically my favorite sponsor since we got going. Even before I got into this job, it was somebody that I was looking into due to Josh Neighbors, the Locked On Big 12. But if you're looking for a delicious treat, you already know I'm going to tell you, you got to go try Built Bar. Regardless of what your New Year's resolutions are or are not, this is the perfect healthy snack that just happens to be a protein bar, that just so happens to taste like a candy bar. And part of the reason they're so good is because they're covered in 100% real chocolate. They come in crazy, unbelievable flavors. Do yourself a favor, head to Walmart today, go to the pharmacy section, pick yourself up a 4-bar box. Or if you're closer to a Sam's Club, stop by there, grab yourself a 13-bar box. And make sure you do, in fact, hit all of the wonderful flavors like the brownie batter, the churro, cookies and cream, double chocolate, or the coconut puffs. With only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein, it is the snack you need. All right, y'all. This has been good. Thanks for bearing with me here for a couple shows. Bedlam basketball is going to be big time. Hopefully, we can get another back on track game of women's basketball, because women's basketball, they're in the hunt as well. Men's basketball, we're only a few games back. We're only a few games back, guys. There's a 5-way tie right now for like second place. And we're right there in it. We're only a couple games back from that group. So this could be a big win in Norman tonight. So stay tuned. I do indeed believe that we may be even having a Twitter space after the game. I think that's all we got for this one. As always, I love you all. God bless. Go Pokes. And thank you very much for joining in to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. Until the next one, I will see you.